how do I instill hope in myself? Or how do I choose to believe that there is hope for me? The simple answer is you do it. In the moment when you're having questioning coming up, or fear, doubt, or worry coming up, you look that fear, doubt, or worry in the eye, and you start, confronting it. You ask questions about, how valid is this fear, doubt, or worry? Because we do have to validate, we've got to have our feelings. But just because we have our feelings and feel them and process them doesn't mean that all the stories they're telling us are true. So when I come up against, needing to take action on something or to move forward by doing differently in a given situation, and I have that fear coming up or that hopelessness coming up, I want to ask into it about, is this true? Is it really fair of me to generalize to the point and say there's no hope for me? Or can I find a nugget of hope? Can I find anything from my past that got me to where I am? Because I wouldn't even be considering moving forward in life, generally speaking, if there wasn't some experience of that in the past. And that's one thing I say to my, individual clients all the time, in terms of this work more generally, is like, you wouldn't be doing this work or reading these books, or exploring these concepts, and you certainly wouldn't be talking to me if there wasn't a part of you that really, believes in this stuff, that really knows that there's more out there for you and that you deserve it and that you can have it. And so our job becomes not just generating hope and belief out of thin air, but finding wherever it already exists, finding the source of it wherever we can within ourselves, and then feeding that and causing it to grow. And then, of course, as Nicole always says, there's also borrowing belief. And so wherever applicable, I always recommend people to think of someone else when you're in those moments where you have a story coming up in your own mind that is really hard to argue with because it's been there forever, or it's got great evidence, or whatever it's telling you is just feels too real to deny. Ask yourself what I would do, or what Nicole would do, or what anyone else who you see as a role model in this realm would do or would tell you to do in that moment. And because that's really what we're doing, especially when we work with someone, particularly if you think about in the traditional talk therapy model of psychotherapy, the whole point is to establish a relationship with your therapist that strengthens the parts of you that are like that therapist. So, and we do the same thing with our parents as children. We start to model their behaviors and we take them on to be the way of things. The best way to handle life is what has been mirrored for me. And then those of us who end up in psychotherapy, it's usually because we picked up some stuff from our parents that turned out to be not so helpful or not right for us, which is a big thing too, because it's not always that the parents were terrible, but they were doing their best and they may not have given us everything that we needed. So when we come into that relationship with a psychotherapist, the whole model of training behind that is to help teach the person how to look at life and look at themselves the way that you look at them. And so, that's really that's a part of that work that I love and I bring forward into everything that I do, is that I really want, my favorite thing is when people come to session or they reach out to me to share that this, terrible trigger thing happened once again, but they heard my voice in their head this time instead of their mother or their father or their uncle or whomever. They heard, the things that we've talked about over and over again instead. So I do recommend that you kind of draw from those resources, especially in those tough moments. And when I say that it's simple but not easy, part of what I mean by that too is that we have, part of what makes us so unique as human beings is that we have this consciousness, we have this conversation ongoing in our minds, and we have the capacity to direct ourselves with our will. And so by making a statement such as, I choose to believe that there is hope and healing for me. I choose to believe that I deserve love and happiness and wealth and health and all the things. That is, that's a suggestion to the subconscious mind. It's not just a statement. And when we first say things like that, it's not always going to feel real. And that's why I think a lot of people come into trouble with affirmations and things, because if we're just saying it, it's not living within us. And so whatever we can do to, I love that phrasing of I choose to believe, because that's not saying, I'm not going to lie and say that I believe it right now if that doesn't feel true to me, but I'm choosing that. And that means I'm calling that forward for myself. And it may take time for that belief to develop, but at least I'm making my choices known. I'm making my intentions known to, the universe and also my innermost being.